Bobby Lashley is back on Monday Night Raw, and he is... Pete, be serious. This is a very serious podcast. Do you want me to put the countdown on again? I'm just kidding. Welcome to the Raw Review Podcast. Bobby Lashley is back, and he's facing Omos. Oh dear, I am Luke Owen, DAD, the real Jam That Champion, and I'm joined by Chopper Pete Quinnell, the fake Jam That Champion. This is the Raw Review Podcast. Please do click the subscribe button if you haven't already. Click that thumbs up button and get your thoughts in on this very, very special topic at WrestleTalk.com/support. A link that now works again.
It does work. That was a thing that we had to discover over the weekend, that it didn't work, but now it's fixed. Also, the reason I was laughing is because Luke didn't have the title on his shoulder and panicked when it got to the final support WrestleTalk screen. Oh, that was delightful.
Yeah, so it was like, oh yeah, that thing.
Oh god, oh. Scrambling.
And it was already on the screen being like, support. I was like, I've run out of time. I was messing around with that thing over there. Anywho, Pete.
Hello.
So it's the go-home edition of Monday Night Raw. It's
Indeed.
WrestleMania this weekend. Very, very exciting times. You and I will be doing live reactions to it, along with Andy on night one, and if he'll accept my challenge, Sullivan Bo Brown, though he still hasn't.
Yep.
The coward.
Definitely his fault.
The lovely coward. So yeah, we're going to be talking about the go-home edition of Monday Night Raw.
Indeed.
WrestleMania Raw, this was. A show that was stacked in that they had a lot of SmackDown guys on the show tonight. Like Roman and Brock were on this show. Ricochet was on this show. The Viking Raiders were on this show. A lot of the women were on this show as well. Not Ronda Rousey, but we'll talk about that when we get to the segment later on. Hilarious, that is.
Yep.
But it also featured a big return. Now, PW Insider, actually, Fightful Select first reported that Omos was going to have a WrestleMania match, and it was going to be against Bobby Lashley if he could get cleared. And then yesterday, or might have been on Sunday, PW Insider reported that Bobby Lashley's going to be on Raw tonight, and they're going to set up the Omos match. You okay?
Yeah, sorry, I was just looking at the chat. I thought I could see something that was wrong, but it isn't. I'm just misreading things. Apologies.
That's okay, mate. Yeah. Focus here, Pete.
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm with you. I care about the content, all right, Luke?
Yeah, I know you do. Professional Pete.
That's me.
Pete Professional. WrestleMania Raw.
See, what you did there is you just said the two words and didn't combine them.
And yet it was still more effort than WrestleMania Raw.
WrestleMania Raw. That's what you just said, Luke.
But I said it with such gusto. So the segment here was Omos versus the Viking Raiders in a 2-on-1 handicap match. My first note here is, poor Viking Raiders.
Oh, they were just fighting for the SmackDown Tag Team titles not long ago. That was at Elimination Chamber, right?
Yeah, poor lads. I mean, it's bad enough that they're in the Andre the Giant Memorial Jobber Battle Royal, but like coming out here, and I was like, I thought it was going to be against Apollo and Commander Aziz, but I believe that happened last week.
Yeah, I can't remember last week.
You watched the show.
I reviewed the show. Can't tell you what happened, I'll be honest.
Well, I'm going to assume that's what happened. And in this match...
Yes, he did a really bad pin. I remember. He did a big boot to Commander Aziz, and then it looked like he was going to do his big tree slam from Apollo onto Commander Aziz. But then as he lifted him up, Commander Aziz just rolled out the way. So then he just did it on the floor, and then dragged Apollo on top of Commander Aziz, and then did a really bad pin, and the referee was like...
Commander Aziz playing on the floor was just like, I ain't taking that bump.
Yeah, legit, yeah. And the referee was like, well, his shoulders aren't down, I can't count this. And Omos is like, wait, hold on, let me readjust. 1, 2, 3. Like, okay, great. Yeah.
So this match was 40 seconds, if that, because he clobbered poor old Ray Rowe with a clothesline. Ray Rowe rolled to the outside and go, count it out.
And this was a clothesline.
Yeah.
This wasn't like a big, like, Rainmaker lariat. It wasn't a buckshot. It wasn't any sort of special lariat. It was a clothesline. Like regular a box standard clothesline.
Yeah. It was just a move.
And then he just rolled out the ring and that was it. Count out.
Like, I feel sorry for the Viking Raiders in all of this. However, I don't mind the idea of him just winning with a clothesline because it puts over the strength of Omos, the unstoppability of Omos. Like that I totally get, particularly with the angle that was coming afterwards. Because Kevin Crabpatrick then gets in the ring afterwards and he's like, oh, Omos, why don't you have match WrestleMania? And Omos was like, I want to challenge someone for a WrestleMania. I'm like, well, Seth Rollins had to go through a whole load of hoops
He's looking for an opponent
to get his match. Omos was just like, I'll have one, please.
Yeah.
And out comes the returning Bobby Lashley. It was reported when he got injured. He got injured at the Rumble in the match with Brock. Yeah. And he had to be written out of the chamber match so he could go take time off. The report at the time was he was going to be out for months with getting shoulder surgery.
I think it was minimum 4 months.
Yeah, right?
It was projected, yeah.
But here he is. He's back a few weeks later. And now he's facing Omos. So before we get into what happened next, what did you make of the match and Bobby's return?
I think, on your point of the clothesline, I think it would be better if it looked better.
Oh, yeah.
If Omos was like...
Ray did everything he could to make it look good.
He tried his best, but I think if Omos was, bouncing off the ropes into it, if it was like a clothesline from hell style clothesline, something like that, I think that I'd be totally cool with it. But it was the fact that Eric ran into him and he just went...
This wasn't clothesline from hell.
No, not at all. But the return was good. People popped to see Lashley back. That was cool.
There was a babyface reaction for him.
Very much so. I think he is a babyface now.
I think that's what they were looking to do because they were playing lots of video packages being like, he was in the military.
Yeah,
he's a decorated NCAA doobly-da.
Doobly-da, that's the one.
Cheer him as a babyface now.
Yeah.
No MVP with him either.
No MVP yet. But we'll see about that because MVP was still on the graphic for the WrestleMania match.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, so we'll see if MVP joins him for the match itself. But
I was using that point to kind of skip ahead.
Yeah, that's fair. But I think Lashley coming back and confronting Omos on paper is good. I don't particularly care about Omos, but in like kayfabe it works for big, huge man Lashley to try and take on the big giant that no one's taken off his feet. It's good. There's potential for a good little story there. Isn't that right, Luke?
Oh, well, yeah, and here is where the trouble lies. Because I think I said this in the edited review, on paper it sounds horrible, but also on paper it sounds great.
Yes.
Because this is Omos, who has been so heavily protected by WWE. He basically made his in-ring debut as the Omos character last year's WrestleMania. That was his in-ring debut. It's in that tag match with AJ, winning the tag titles off of the New Day.
And even before that, he'd been protected. Even at TLC, taking like chair shot to the back and just no-selling it. And that was a great spot.
Oh yeah, I mean, even when he was the big ninja with Tozawa, he was being protected. It's like no one was like pinning him or anything. I think he only had one match, or as the bouncer for Raw Underground. But so they've been heavily protecting this guy. AJ Styles went out of his way to make this guy look good. Didn't matter a jolt at the end of the day because the crowd still don't react for him. And he's done nothing but squash matches and squash matches, squash matches, squash matches. But they keep making this point. He's never been beaten. And he's never even left his feet.
Yep.
And now he's coming up against the almighty Bobby Lashley. And one of the commentators, there were 6 of them on the show, had the point where they were like, this isn't just a regular man. This is the almighty. And he gets into the ring, and there was this kind of good crowd reaction to it because everyone's like excited to see Bobby, and they're like, oh man, what's Bobby going to do with Omos? And they sort of do this little tussle, and Omos sort of grabs him by the face and sort of takes him, Bobby's like, hugs up. And then Bobby takes him off his feet. Does a big old shoulder block to him. And Omos takes a bump, lands on his back, and he rolls to the outside. And I thought, that's a mistake.
Yep.
I genuinely thought that was I thought he wasn't supposed to fall over there. And Bobby's so big that he couldn't help but take a bump off of him. Because there's absolutely no way in all of God's green heckins earth that anyone would be that inept to spend a year building up someone, not going off their feet, and then a week before the pay-per-view to take him off his feet. The one thing you had with him. Literally the one thing you had. And you did it 6 days out before the Premium Live event. I was like, there's no way they can be that inept. And then one of the 10 commentary team members were like, Bobby Lashley took him off his feet. No one's ever been able to do that. So what's the story now? So what's the point of me watching the pay-per-view match now? Because I don't want to see them wrestle.
No, definitely not.
I wanted to see Omos being taken off his feet.
Yeah.
Got to see that for free. Why do I need to sign up for Peacock now?
Yeah. And the thing is, it wasn't even a good spot of taking him off his feet. If it was a huge angle that was executed great, you know, maybe I could have forgiven it, because maybe that's a really intriguing bit to be like, whoa, like that was a really cool spot of Lashley taking him off his feet. We're going to see more of that kind of thing in their match. It was a shoulder tackle. That was it.
Yeah.
There was nothing to it. Like, he did a shoulder tackle, it didn't affect him. Did another one, didn't affect him. And then the third one, he bounced off the ropes and did a shoulder tackle, and then it went down. And it was like, okay. Like, if it wasn't even
in
like
the match now, we're gonna do 5 bumps.
Yeah, it wasn't a spear. It wasn't a cool drop kick. It wasn't like something off the top rope. It was a shoulder tackle. It was really mostly unimpressive, and Omos just went down for it. And I was like, okay, well, Lashley can take him off his feet. So I guess they're kind of like even going into Mania. Cool.
That's it. Like all of the intrigue you had, because that is like the crowd aren't reacting to Omos. Like these squash matches, if this had been anyone else, if he'd have been an NXT call-up, they'd have released him.
Oh, yeah.
They'd have released him a long time ago. They'd have proper Keith Lee, Karrion Kross type, 3-week push, and you're done, mate. But they really like Omos. He's a Vince hand-picked boy. So he's given all the chances in the world, and he is not getting over in the slightest. And but like, this is the one thing you had, is he hasn't taken a bump yet. Who's going to be the first person? That's Bobby.
Yep.
And he did it before the match. So, like, now there's literally no intrigue in going into their match other than, can Bobby beat the undefeatable guy? But you're doing that story with Drew McIntyre and Happy Corbin. Because Pete, he hasn't lost since he struck it lucky in Vegas or some nonsense.
Just trying to find my note about this match. So Corbin lost.
Yeah, no, he's not been defeated, Pete. He is undefeated, Pete.
And then, oh no, sorry, is this the bit where the commentator said, this is how you stay undefeated?
Yep. Okay, well, we'll get to that, Pete. We'll get to that. My point is, you're doing the storyline about the undefeated guy in the Drew McIntyre Happy Corbin thing. So, like,
yes,
that's the same story we're doing here. This story had something different to it. Now it no longer has that one thing.
Yeah.
So that's a real shame. Because I actually think that would have been a pretty good little thing going into Mania. I have zero interest in watching them do a wrestle.
No.
Zero interest in watching Bobby Lashley doing everything he can to make this big lumbering tree trunk do anything good.
Unless we're going to see Lashley do a Dominator to Omos,
oh my!
Then I'm interested. Otherwise, not really.
And if there's one man who could do it as well, it's big old Bubbles.
Lashley.
Big old Bubbles. Big boy Bubbles can do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's a shame. I thought the return was good. I just think they massively bollocks the follow-up.
Yeah, I think, on paper this would have been a very good return and an exciting setup for Mania. It just didn't quite pan out like that. What's
interesting as well, like, we're going to get into your Ultrachats now and kind of get your thoughts on this, is that this was an episode where, unlike, we did this review together a few weeks back, and they had that amazing triple threat tag team match that was like match of the year candidate type thing. And then nothing happened on the rest of the show. To the point where you and I played 2K for like the last half an hour of the show because we managed to speed through Raw. This was an episode of Raw where, like, with every segment, I feel like there is something to be said about it.
Yeah.
And yet still nothing happened on this show. Yeah. This was by far the biggest thing that happened on the show.
I think that what WWE have done this year for the WrestleMania build is they have set things up very early and then gone, we've done the setup. Cool. Job's done. We can just kind of coast off the setup we've already done for the remaining 5 weeks or so. We don't really have to build that much more. With the exception of a couple of feuds, we don't actually have to do that much more to build it because we've already done the build. Tickets are going to sell themselves. It's Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. What more do you want?
Although, it doesn't know, is it? Because they're not selling as well as Steve Austin doing a podcast.
Yeah.
It's very WWE in that way. I was listening to you and Tempo talking about the SmackDown podcast. I listened to your show. I think it's excellent.
It's very good.
It is genuinely brilliant.
It was me and Sat this past weekend. That was fun.
I was also very, very good because what an entertaining man that he is.
He's great.
Great Ronda Rousey impersonation.
It was so spot on.
But I was going to make a point that you and Tempo were talking about this with the Brock Lesnar angle. He was driving a forklift truck and then like destroying a car in this. And it's so WWE that this always happens. If they book something out far enough in advance, they panic after like a certain number of weeks, be like, oh, what do we do? Deborah's The Rock's manager. It's like, what do we do? Bret Hart got run over by a car. What do we do? Shawn Michaels was attacked backstage, and it was Triple H, but Triple H is trying to figure out who it is. But it was actually Triple H. It's like, they just panic and can't. Like, what do we do now? And it was the same thing with that, where I was like, they booked this match so far out, they were like, Punk throws a forklift. Get a forklift here.
The thing is, the forklift would have been fine if they just paced the show correctly and not, had an ad break immediately after the forklift pierces the car through the windows. Bang, ad break.
Well, I hope they have a massive clash on this episode.
They're both on this show.
It's
WrestleMania Raw. It's Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns on the same show.
Pete, I'll get to it. So, get in your Ultra Chats. I've been informed by Mod Mother Jenna that the Ultra Chat link is still broken-ish. It works for some people, it does not for others. We've just had a site refresh, a new wonderful design over at WrestleTalk.com.
Indeed.
So please go over there and check out the new version of it. And with that, we've got to kind of redirect some of our old links and stuff that weren't copied across. And one of those is WrestleTalk.com/support. If you do want to get your Ultra Chats in, our wonderful moderating team are supplying the link directly to Streamlabs, and you can donate there.
In the live chat right now.
And the live chat.
Check it out.
Right now.
Yes.
But Van Twinblade got it working, and he says, gosh golly gee willikers, I can't wait to watch Bobby job to someone with the in-ring ability of Limp Pasta.
Interesting question, then. I know we can probably talk about this more in the prediction stream that we're going to be doing tomorrow for WrestleMania predictions. Do you think Omos is winning?
So Fightful Select's report was that the Omos push is continuing past WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
That, to me, would say, yeah, he's winning.
Yeah.
And Bobby taking him off his feet here suggests even further that he's winning.
Counterpoint.
Please do.
Lashley wins by countout.
Oh, no. Oh, no. No.
Does a shoulder tackle, takes him off his feet, and Omos is on the
repeat
outside.
The spot from
repeat the spot from Raw.
Oh,
It's flawless, guys.
I don't like that much.
I want it to happen now.
Yeah, I mean...
Because it'd be awful.
I mean, to be honest, it makes the most sense, right?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, like, in the WWE landscape, and really, at the end of the day, does it matter?
No. Wins and losses don't matter.
Wins and losses don't matter. Look at Happy Corbin. Bobby Lashley coming back for a match that's not worth it. Hope the Mania payday is good for him. Moss might be too green to work safe with an injured Bobby Lashley. So, I don't know, and I haven't had a chance to listen to Fightful's post-Raw review, so I don't know what the status of Bobby Lashley is. Obviously, he's been cleared for this. So that would suggest to me that the injury was not as bad as first feared. So he's not going into this match injured, I would presume, right?
I'd assume so. Yeah. I don't think they'd bring him back this early.
Senator continues, Omos doing the fist bump here was, the first bump here was stupid. Also, Supercard of Honor will be amazing.
Hope so.
Yes, it will. What a lineup that show has got. I mean, just for FCR versus Dem Boys,
I was going to say,
man, there's a lot on there. Zayn versus Swerve. Yes, please, mate. Well in for that.
And Denise Salcedo.
Indeed, Denise Salcedo is actually booked for the show.
She is actually booked for the show.
On the subject of Raw overall, Charles Berg says, boring show. It's maybe a stretch. Maybe don't put a snooker in the quasi-abusive relationship angle. I think that's the sins of the father.
Yeah, exactly. I don't get that vibe from this storyline.
Yeah,
personally.
I mean, I guess Tozawa could be a sub, which is fine. Whatever floats your boat. That would also give WWE a chance to repurpose Karrion Kross's gear. Right, yeah. Hey yo. When I posted my Steiner Maths bollocks last week, I didn't realize I was manifesting a Hall of Fame induction. Very happy about that. The professional treatment of Ricochet and the Raiders, not so happy there. Ooh, yeah.
We'll talk about that in a little bit.
They certainly will, yeah. So, yeah, the Steiner's going in. And it's a live mic. It's on live TV. Scott Steiner has been so vocal against WWE and the Hall of Fame. What if he just gets up there and he's just like, and he just cuts like a Scott Steiner style promo, and it's just like tearing and swearing this, that, and the other.
The patron saint of WrestleTalk Extra.
Love Scott Steiner. Love Scotty Steiner.
I can't believe that we've never made the joke of the WrestleTalk Extra Patreon saint. How have we never made that joke?
Such a good joke. Why don't you do our show?
It's why I'm head of Patreon, Luke.
We'll do this last one for now. Football Down Under with Zach says, hey, Luke and Pete, am I the only one who cares about Veer's debut on Raw after Mania than pretty much anything else on night 2 of WrestleMania? Apart from the main event of Edge versus AJ. Hashtag Veer is coming.
Yeah, I'm legitimately looking forward to Veer's debut.
Yeah.
Foolishly looking forward to it, I might add. But I'm looking forward to it nonetheless.
I said many moons ago now, when Ollie said, like, what do you think they do? And I said, I'll tell you what they do. Week 1, he squashes Cedric Alexander.
Yep.
Week 2, he squashes Shelton Benjamin.
Yep.
Week 3, he squashes both of them, and then we never see him again.
Yes.
Or he just ends up back with Shanky and Jinder.
Yeah.
But I think now that it's been so long, that maybe there will... I mean, it'll probably just be a squash match.
Yep.
And
100% going to be a squash match.
But, like, doing it in front of the Raw After Mania crowd is such a smart decision, because if there is one crowd that is going to give him a superstar reaction, it is the traveling, ironic Raw After WrestleMania crowd.
Hopefully, fingers crossed, because we haven't had a proper, Raw After Mania
for 2 years.
2019, right?
Yeah.
Would be the last one. So it's been a few years, so I'm hoping that kind of traveling crowd is still there and live and kicking.
I think I think this will be our first exposure to a traveling crowd since then. And that Raw After Mania crowd is usually a very, very fun show because of that traveling crowd. You're welcome, by the way.
Yeah.
Actually, we'll take this one here from the Sheldon Show that says, my first time watching live, so perhaps my anger was increased, but this show was rotten to the core. It broke me. Poor Ricochet, poor Raiders. Thought Roman gave a fantastic promo, but nothing happened. Matches were so lackluster to insulting. Yeah.
Kind of agree.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I mentioned this earlier. It's kind of an amazing show, this episode of Raw, because it was like so the episode you and I did 2 weeks ago, where we were like, man, Raw's lacking in star power because WWE have been telling you, the audience, the two most important things in the company right now are Brock Lesnar, WWE Champion, Roman Reigns, Universal Champion, and they're both only ever on SmackDown. So Raw is just filled with these lads and lasses doing diddly dick.
Yes.
And just trying to make storylines for themselves. And they've not elevated the US title to make that feel important, so no one feels like they're ever fighting for anything.
It's in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. Finn Balor.
Yeah, well, I mean, what are you going to do with him, Pete? Give him a match at WrestleMania?
On a two-night show?
Yeah, considering they were building a match between him and Damian Priest. What are you going to do? Pay that off?
Wild.
But yet this episode, like, they announced ahead of time, Brock's on the show, Roman is on the show. It's the Raw Tag Champs versus the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, which was also...
terrible match to book, by the way. Why are you booking that? Who's gonna win out of that?
They did it at Survivor's, literally the same match at Survivor Series.
Yeah.
I went back and I double checked. I was like, what was the match at Survivor Series? Oh, it was these two.
It was this one. Yeah.
They announced that Flair was going to be on this show. Ronda Rousey was going to be on this show. Announced a bunch of matches. Barely any of them actually happened.
Yeah.
We were also meant to get Street Profits versus Alpha Academy, which didn't happen. I think the only match that they announced was Miz versus Mysterio that happened, and the 8-woman tag.
Yes.
Everything else. Oh, no, and the tag match in the end.
Yeah, main event tag match.
But you can shed a little bit more light on this. Because Ronda Rousey just announced on Raw after they said, oh yeah, it's going to be Bianca and Ronda versus Becky and Charlotte. I had this in my news yesterday, because I'm like, that is massive. That is a huge, huge match. That is I've got to watch Raw to see that match. Because that could possibly lead to the first in-ring interaction between Ronda and Becky Lynch since Mania 35. Like in a wrestling aspect, not so much, just promos and that.
Yeah.
What a huge moment that will be. And then it was just Ronda was like, I'm not there.
Yeah. And that graphic that they tweeted out, they announced it on social media, deleted the graphic not long after. And Ronda said she was on a Facebook stream and she was like, I mean, I'm not at Raw, because if I was, I'd already be traveling. So I don't know what's happening there. I guess they must have made a mistake. And as it turns out, according to Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer Radio, WWE just didn't send her a plane ticket. So she wasn't on the show.
There's two things that I find fascinating about that. One, WWE inept enough to promote a match and not send her a plane ticket.
Sure.
Two, everyone else pays for their smeg in travel. Why is Ronda being sent plane tickets?
Ronda, innit? Probably part of the contract.
I'll never forget poor old Bailey doing that interview. She did an interview on some news show or something, and she mentioned that she pays for her own travel. And so what she was doing, she was telling a humorous story about how you're traveling to a show and you don't know if you're going to have enough petrol to get you to the next show.
Ugh.
And the news reporter just stopped and was like, hold on, you pay for your own travel? And Bailey was almost like, yeah, we all pay for our own travel. We all rent our own cars and we drive places. And this news report was perplexed by this, because this is a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and like she was stunned that the talent is paying for their own travel. And Bailey was just like, yeah, of course. I mean, that's what every company does. And then she said, I mean, there's a lot of us. They can't arrange travel laws. I was like, they really can, Bailey.
They can.
Like, get a bus. Get a coach. Like, it's really, really easy.
Yeah.
Anyway, Brock Lesnar opened this show, and all of a sudden, like, Raw felt special. Like, it felt like, you know, like, because we haven't seen him on Raw for ages, and I don't watch SmackDown. This felt like an actual, like, big deal that he was on the show, and I'm like, finally, this gives like a reason to watch Raw. Like, even Michael Cole was on commentary.
I started off the show quite positive, because one, here's Lesnar, cool, he's on Raw, that's great, and also, there wasn't a huge recap, because the SmackDown formula is you have your opening intro, the then now forever together thing, and then you have like a 2-minute recap of what happened last week with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, and then it goes into Roman Reigns' really long entrance, and then he does a promo, and first 10-15 minutes of the show have gone and nothing's happened. This started off with the then now forever thing, because they can't let that go, and then it was Lesnar's entrance, and I was like, oh my god, there wasn't a recap! Oh, this is a 5 out of 5 show. What a show. And then as Lesnar's making his entrance, they did a 2-minute 45 recap of everything that happened on SmackDown. I was like, come on, guys!
Big recap of their SmackDown angle.
Yeah.
And I've then written here, he says that Paul used to do all the talking for him, which seems like a good idea, because he seems to be forgetting his lines here.
Yeah, he kind of did.
Brock's he's so affable in this role, though, that I don't mind it, but like, he just sort of comes out and he's like, hey guys, like, he hasn't got a plan. He's like me doing junket interviews. I don't go in with like plans of what I'm going to ask people. I just sort of like make it up on the fly and stuff. If you watch the interviews that I did with Bianca Belair and the Street Profits and Mustache Mountain, if you watch it and you think like, oh, he's quite naturalistic in doing his interviews, because I didn't plan anything. I literally got up onto the stage with Street Profits and I was like, what am I going to ask these guys?
How do you do a frog splash?
Yeah, and
how do you jump that high?
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I'll just ask them this, and then that will probably spawn off into something else. So yeah, like he just went out there and he was just like, hey guys, I'm the champion. Hey, you gonna want me? Cool. Steve Austin's at Mania. Yeah. Well, so WrestleMania coming around the corner. Roman Reigns, he'll be there. And yeah, we're having a match, cool. And I'm gonna win.
That is getting dangerously close to your Tony Khan impression.
They are one and the same, though, aren't they? People have always said Tony Khan is the Brock Lesnar of AEW.
Very good. This was a promo.
I mean, so the meat of this promo was the problem here, because he said on Sunday Roman's got nowhere to run.
Yes, on Sunday specifically, not tonight, Luke. On Sunday, he's got nowhere to run.
And then I mean, also he's got somewhere to run on Sunday. It's not a cage match.
No. And
then Roman just later on. Let's talk about the Roman promo now.
Sure, yeah.
Roman then comes out about an hour later and cuts a really good promo. And then that's it, and then he leaves. And I'm like,
he leaves.
Where did Brock go?
Yeah.
Like, this is... Like, are we saving all of it for SmackDown? In which case, why bother booking them on this show? Because if you're going to book Brock and Roman on the go-home edition of Raw and advertise as such, make people tune in, because you're like, man, Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns are going to be on this show. Do something with them.
Yep.
Because if not, if you're saving all of it for SmackDown, don't bother doing it here then.
Get another forklift. Do something.
Because this was... Like, what was the point of any of this?
It's the same stuff we've heard. Well, to be fair, Lesnar's stuff was mostly the same stuff we've heard. He's just chilling. Hey, I'm going to win on Sunday. That was his promo. Roman's promo, annoyingly, was really good.
So good.
Really good promo. And he brought up some great content. And I'm like, why haven't you talked about this before? Why isn't this what the whole feud was built around? Because he was talking about, specifically mentioned at WrestleMania 34, Brock Lesnar beat me. He made me bleed all over New Orleans. I got my payback at Madison Square Garden. I made him bleed all over there. And I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to take his title. And I was like, this is great. Why isn't this what the whole feud is about? Rather than Paul Heyman or whatever. It's not even that anymore, because that thing's already done with. I don't even know what the feud is about anymore. They just want titles, I guess, or something.
It was a great promo.
It was a really good promo. And it was annoying, because I was like, this is really good. Do this earlier. Build the story around this.
The crux of the promo as well, I was thrilled to hear, is that he's never beaten Brock Lesnar on the big stage of WrestleMania, which is what my fantasy booking warfare was about.
Yep.
And Adam Blompier had the temerity to say, stupid that,
yeah,
because he has beaten him at SummerSlam. And I was like, Adam, you're missing the point. the big stage of WrestleMania. And I was like, oh, actually, I think I'll find a bit at SummerSlam. And I'm pushing the glass up his nose. Who's the twat now, Adam?
He was so angry when you mentioned that in the office earlier. He visibly bristled when you told him that that's what it was.
He was genuinely irritated that he said that in the promo. Genuinely irritated, because it means I was right.
Yes, it was great.
We then got The Miz versus Rey Mysterio. Now, I didn't watch Raw last week, and the story last week was that Miz took off Rey Mysterio's mask, luchador, disrespect.
Yes.
And then so Miz comes out and he cuts his standard promo, and he brings out Lucha Logan. And it's Paul, what's his name?
Paul.
Sorry, what I call him?
Logan Paul.
I nearly called him Paul Logan, didn't
Logan, yeah, that's it.
Anyway, whoever it is, he comes out and he's wearing Rey Mysterio's mask. Corey Graves being like, oh, Lucha Logan, I've heard of this guy. Like, this is great. I thought Corey was awesome for the majority of this show anyway.
Corey Graves is insufferable.
No, I thought Corey was wonderful. I thought Corey was great in all of this. I thought the other lad, whatever his name is, was really good as well. And then Rey Mysterio just comes out, he's wearing a different mask.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, I mean, yeah, I guess.
He's not going to wrestle maskless.
He's not going to wrestle maskless. It's just, maybe keep him off this show. Maybe he comes back at WrestleMania with the big mask, or like Dom gets the mask back and gives it back to his father or something.
To Rey, yeah.
Because otherwise, like, what's so special about that mask?
Yeah.
And then at the end of this, they just got the mask back. And I'm like, oh, what's the story here then?
Just gotta beat him, I guess.
The story here is that Logan Paul's having a wrestling match. Like that is
the whole story.
That is the story here.
Yeah.
He's a star, and we're doing a match with an actual star.
Yeah, and Miz was saying, like, we're going to take your WrestleMania mask, and I'm going to wear it. And I was like, isn't that, like, anti-Miz? Miz loves showing off his face. Like, that's Miz's thing, right? Why would he want to put a mask on? Besides the point.
Yeah, I don't think this was very good.
I thought Corey Graves was really bad. He would not shut up about Lucha Logan. Oh, he's the greatest luchador in the world, guys. Have you not heard of Lucha Logan? It's like, shut up, Corey.
I thought it was
Jesus.
Great. Okay.
I also thought, as a positive note, I thought that commentary, there were too many of them, commentary did a good job explaining why Dominic Mysterio doesn't wear a mask.
That was good, actually.
I quite like that.
That was all Cole as well.
Yeah.
Because Cole is a guy who's commentated, all of Rey's WWE career, and he loves Rey Mysterio. You go back and listen to those, when he first debuted in like 2002 or whatever it was, and when he won the title and everything, Cole is the biggest Rey Mysterio mark. And he was telling the story of just like he hasn't earned that yet.
Yeah.
I thought it was really, really good, insightful commentary.
It was really good, explaining like the history of like Lucha Libre and how like important it is to that culture, and how Rey Mysterio earned that mask, and Dominic is yet to earn that and stuff like that. And I was like, that's great. That's awesome. And it sets up in the future, potentially, Dominic could wear a mask in the future. If he then earns it, he could earn a mask. That's great.
Love that. So then we got one of the other big things that they were advertising for this show, which is Seth Rollins being called to corporate HQ because they need to have a chat with him about a WrestleMania match. Seth Rollins tweeted out this text message, and they were doing this big whole thing, advertising all weekend. We're going to find out what Seth Rollins is doing at WrestleMania, because Seth Rollins' storyline has been he is desperate to get on the WrestleMania card. So desperate, he made friends with Kevin Owens, a sworn enemy of his, so he could get on the WrestleMania card. And that didn't work out. So then he tried to steal Kevin Owens' spot and do the Austin podcast. And that didn't work. And then he tried to steal AJ Styles' spot, and that didn't work. To the point then when he freaked out and he destroyed the Raw set, and he was becoming unraveled and unglued. And I was like, I didn't watch Raw last week, but I saw like that clip and stuff, and I'm like, man, what are they going to do next week with this unraveled Seth Rollins, desperate to get on the WrestleMania card? Nothing, because he was actually fine.
Yeah.
He showed up to and this genuinely how the segment started. Seth Rollins showed up to the meeting 2 hours early, and it shows on the clock like 6:57. And then he's like, oh, I'll wait here then. Fine, doing his usual, like, ha 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 ha, I'll just sit here and I'll wait there. All the while, like, like this sort of like instrumental, like, music is playing in the background. And then does like a clock wipe and he's like, 9 o'clock, man, he has his meeting now. What was the point of the first bit? And the payoff was he had his meeting.
It wasn't even like you saw him go down 2 hours early, and then 2 hours later, he's looking more disheveled.
Which is what I thought they were going to do. I thought they were going to do that, but no, he's like, I'll just go for my meeting.
I'll have my meeting now, I guess.
So that was the payoff.
All right.
Yeah. So, and then Vince's promo is just like, Seth is just like, oh, what are you going to do? You're going to fire me? You're fired. And he's doing all of his Seth Rollins stuff. And then Vince is like, oh, Seth Rollins, one of my all-time great wrestlers I have on my roster. We could possibly do the most stupendous two-night of WrestleMania without Seth Rollins. If you wanted a match, all you had to do was ask. You got a match. And that's it. All of these weeks of storyline, and the payoff is Vince said, okay. How shit is that? That is absolutely fucking shit.
It's literally my entire problem with this whole story of Seth Rollins is too big a star for this story to work because it's unrealistic that he wouldn't have a WrestleMania spot. And then Vince just goes, well, we can't have WrestleMania without Seth. It's like, that's the fucking point! That's why it doesn't work! You can't just point it out!
I don't need to swear, Pete. Like,
and then Vince just goes, yeah, you can have a match.
Yeah, you can have a match if you want.
What was the point in all of this then?
Anything?
Why did it just happen?
What was any of this about? The payoff of this story is Vince goes, yeah, all right then. I mean, I'm picking who it is, but yeah, cool. Like, surely a much better version of this.
Oh, God.
Surely a much better version of this is unraveled Seth Rollins.
Right.
Comes down to the ring, desperate to find out, tearing at his head, being like, what can I do? What can I do? I'm going to issue an open challenge to anyone. They don't even have to work here. I just have to have a match at WrestleMania. And then you can have Vince come out and be like, oh, Seth Rollins, and you will have that match. Like, I like your gumption. I think that's a really good idea. That's we can sell a lot of tickets on the back of this. You've got it. And I think I might have someone in mind.
Right.
He pulls out his phone and makes a phone call or something. As opposed to, he just goes to an office, sits down for 2 hours, politely waits, and then has a nice conversation with Vince, who just says, all right.
Absolutely baffling that off the back of Seth Rollins calling out and saying, Raw next week will not happen until I get my WrestleMania match. Off the back of that, surely you open the cold open with Seth Rollins in the ring. Like, I'm hijacking Raw.
Yes.
This show doesn't start until I get my WrestleMania
Love
match.
that.
Security comes out. He beats him up.
Yes.
More security comes out. He beats him up. Vince McMahon, Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville come out. He stomps Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville's like, well, I can't do anything, you know? Then Vince McMahon comes out and he goes, fine. You have a WrestleMania match. I get to pick your opponent. Now get the hell out of my ring.
That's great. That's rad. And it makes
at least it plays off the story.
That's a continuation of the story. That is a logical next step of this story.
Yeah.
This is not the logical next step of the story because this doesn't connect to anything else.
Yeah.
I have
baffling.
No idea what this was about.
Seth's going to WrestleMania.
It is.
Great.
And I hope it's against Shane. Dude, wouldn't it be so funny if the crowd is there going, Cody, here comes the money! Here we go.
Oh, God, that would be amazing.
Because that's the match Shane wanted. It was him versus Seth.
Him versus Seth.
I'm just saying.
I imagine.
Then we got the genuinely best thing on this show.
Strong disagree.
After the Omos Viking Raiders segment. This ruled. I have unironically been enjoying the Reggie Dana Brooks stuff. Their little like rom-com nonsense that they're doing. It's only gotten better since Tozawa and Tamina are doing the mirror of their story. Only it's two heels and they're slightly more wacky. And Reggie, they're holding hands, Reggie and Dana are. And then Reggie gets down on one knee and he proposes. And Dana's so happy and she says, yes, I will marry you. And then Reggie saves Dana from being attacked by Tamina, who's trying to steal the title. And they run away. And Tozawa walks up and he says, I heard Reggie was going to propose. And because we're doing a mirror storyline, I'm going to propose as well. So he proposes and Tamina also accepts. And then it just cuts, it doesn't even cut, it just pans across. And there's R-Truth standing there with a referee with binoculars. And he just goes, well, that gives me an idea. I hope, and I really, really do mean this, and I'm annoyed that they didn't advertise this because it makes me feel like it's not going to happen, and maybe it'll happen on Raw the following night. We get a double wedding ceremony. A double wedding. Dana and Reggie and Tozawa and Tamina with R-Truth as the minister, do the whole like Eric Bischoff, the prosthetics and everything. Like, did someone say 3 minutes? Like, I would love that so much. I think that everyone is doing their part really well. This proper made me laugh, and I thought it was stupid fun.
I thought it was a bit shit, personally.
Hey, come on now.
It was, I don't care. I don't care about any of it.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's pointless. It's a waste of my time, is what I'd call it.
I've said this before. I have been sick to the back teeth of the 24/7 stuff because they did the same joke for 3 years.
They did.
At least this is a different joke now, and so I'm on board for that.
That doesn't make it good, though, Luke. It just makes it different.
Yeah, well, you know what? Sometimes different can, and I this made me laugh. I thought Tozawa and Tamina were. This is the best thing Tamina has ever done in this company, and she's been there for 100 years. Name me one thing that Tamina has done that's better than this.
I'm not going to dispute that. Again, I don't think that makes it good. It's just better than before. That doesn't make it good. It's still bad.
I thought it was pretty good. Then we got the Roman Reigns promo, which...
Quick one. I quite like how the difference between Lesnar and Reigns and how they interacted with the what chant.
Yeah,
Lesnar being like, "Hey, you doing what? Come on, say it with me. Everyone can join in." And Roman tries to shut down the what chant immediately. I was like, "That's nice. Yeah. That's a nice parallel. Storytelling."
That was really good promo as well.
Really good promo.
Why Brock didn't come out is beyond me. Zelina, Carmella, and Shayna and Natalya had a terrible acting class, and then they had an 8-woman tag team match that opened with Michael Cole isn't on Raw these days.
Mm-hmm. I hope you're going to point out the same line that I heard. Go for it.
So someone's talking while Sasha's making their entrance, and Michael Cole literally goes, "Shut up, you guys. This is my bit." And he goes, "It's boss time." And Byron says and goes, "Yeah, Michael Cole, I've missed you saying that." Shut up, Byron. You nerd.
That is not the line that I had heard and made a note of.
Was it Corey doing the Will Smith joke?
No, it was Michael Cole saying like, "Well, I can't get a word in on Raw." And I was like, "Yes, Michael Cole, thank you for pointing out the problem of having 4 commentators."
Yeah, because they were talking about Carmella or something.
It was Corey being Corey about Carmella. And
Corey said, "You keep my fiance's name out of your mouth."
Yeah.
Timely reference with the Will Smith stuff at the Oscars. I thought Corey was fine. The match itself was, Faces won.
Faces won in a match. The baddies imploded because they couldn't get along.
Yep, which is weird because they just did a segment literally before being like that they can get along.
Yep. How will they coexist?
Yeah, I guess that's the story. How will they coexist?
And then afterwards, Carmella's seeking comfort from Corey, and Corey's talking with his commentary headset on while the other commentators are talking. Come on!
And was telling them to be quiet.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I thought it was great.
It's not great.
I enjoyed it.
It hurt my ears. My poor sensitive little ears.
Got a recap of Kevin Owens being great last week, and then got this so awesome video package for Steve Austin, soundtracked by. He's a bit of a tool now, but in 1999, I sure did like Kid Rock's Bar with a Bar.
It is 2022, right? It's not 1999 anymore.
It was when it started. I was like, "Is this Kid Rock Bar with a Bar?" Wow, man, dust that off the old archives. I found this Devil Without a Cause CD in my car, in the boot of my car. Should we use this one? And then the Amazon's like, "Oh, Kid Rock's got a new album out." I was like, "Yeah, let's use the one from an album 20 years ago."
Jesus.
I didn't mind it. I think it's a great song. But they are like talking about this being 19 years.
I wrote that down. It's really annoying me.
And it's what Owens is doing in his promo as well. I've said my piece on this. I've said it enough on the podcast. Me and Denise were talking about this on Friday as well. The idea was they were going to do a match.
Mm-hmm.
They booked a storyline which was Kevin Owens challenges Steve Austin to a WrestleMania match. It'll be his first in-ring match in 19 years.
Yep. What
an incredible moment that is going to be. And then whatever happened, and now it's just a podcast. That's being the main event of WrestleMania.
The KO show.
The KO show is going to main event WrestleMania, apparently, so that is still one of the options to headline WrestleMania.
Kevin Owens said it was going to main event on this promo.
Having said that, WWE always say like there are 5 main events for WrestleMania.
For sure. So, Seth Rollins is getting his own main event, according to Vince McMahon.
Their own main event. And so they had this storyline of it's been 19 years, but now it's a talk show segment. But they can't be asked to rewrite the promos. So they're like, well, we're just going to pretend it's still 19 years, even though it's 2.
It's so insane to me that they can just straight up bold-faced... Well, they lie a lot, obviously, and they rewrite history and all that stuff. But this is like, Stone Cold's been home for 19 years drinking and he's going to be out of shape. And it's like, we've seen him recently.
Yeah.
Like, it's just... It really grinds my gears when they just treat their audience like idiots.
Well, they do. And that's the thing, is that they do treat us like morons.
Yeah.
No more so is that evident than Survivor Series.
Mm-hmm.
Every year, come this year, they will say it's the one night of the year where Raw and SmackDown stars go head-to-head in direct competition. When that happened multiple times on this show, and when people were like, oh, well, they mean is the champions going against each other. This show had the champions going against each other.
Yeah.
Come Survivor Series, they will still say it's the one night of the year when Raw and SmackDown stars go head-to-head in direct competition.
Yep.
Because they don't have any respect for us as viewers. They don't.
Exactly.
They think we're idiots. They think we're marks. They think we're like just blind sheep that will just follow whatever they say. And in fairness to them, there are so many lies that they have said in documentaries and stuff that people have repeated as fact.
Yeah.
You're like, no, I can see why they think we're idiots, because we have repeated a lot of their bollocks over the years.
Yeah, I mean, history is written by the winners, so WWE just get to say what they like about a lot of stuff.
They will, to this day, tell you that they had to do the Montreal Screwjob because Brett was going to show up on Nitro the following night with the belt. And that is unquestionably not true, because if it was true, Brett would have been on Nitro the following night, with or without the belt. But contractually, he was not allowed to go onto Nitro. So, but they tell themselves, but they've said it so much now that they believe that's the truth.
Daniel Bryan was always meant to happen that way at WrestleMania.
Always the plan.
Always the plan.
Always the plan to main event WrestleMania 30.
Yeah.
Balderdash.
Yep.
But anyway, yeah, this was a really good promo from Owens. Just really liked it. And yeah, it's so weird how the main event of WrestleMania might be a talk show segment.
So strange. Also, the biggest boo he got in his whole promo was him saying, I hate beer. Nice. They also, correct me if I'm wrong here, they've only just now set up why, in kayfabe, Stone Cold is actually going on the KO show. Really? Because in this promo, they were saying, you want to talk about your career, and we're going to send you off. And yeah, I can give you that. We're going to have a beer. We're going to talk about your career. We're going to send you off into the sunset, and that's great. And he's like, that's what Stone Cold wants. And I was like, I feel like that's the first time we've ever heard that, because otherwise it was Kevin Owens being like, I'll see you at WrestleMania. Stone Cold's like, yeah. It's like, why are you doing a KO show? Was
Kevin Owens being like, I hate Texas, and then Steve Austin did a promo being like, I'm going to stomp a mod hole in you for disrespecting Texas.
Well, wasn't Kevin Owens called him out for that specifically, to be like, Stone Cold, WrestleMania. And then Stone Cold was like, I'll accept your thing. And it's like,
yeah, because it's
a KO. What are you going to talk about? It's a KO show. What are you going to... And they were talking about like, well, we're not going to, if it gets to an altercation, it's like, so if it doesn't, what are you talking? What's the point of the KO? What are you talking about? What's the subject? It's weird.
Anyway, we then got,
ugh.
Oh man alive, poor old Ricochet here.
We have more stuff to talk about. How have we been going for 50 minutes?
Well, we did a couple of swears.
We did.
Poor old Ricochet here. There was just 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, when he won the belt. So social media ablaze. Finally, Ricochet's going to get that push. Finally, they're going to take Ricochet seriously. You guys, you're so negative. You never believe in WWE. You always think they're never going to give people a chance. They're giving Ricochet a chance here. And he lost in 90 seconds to Austin Theory because Austin Theory is a bigger star and is having a match with Pat McAfee. And he won. Why did you put Ricochet in this position?
Not a clue.
He's got a title match this coming Friday.
Genuinely, I believe it's because they wanted to promote the title match. Because they can advertise and be like, watch SmackDown, Ricochet's going to be in it. Look, see Ricochet, he's in that match. But then he loses in 90 seconds, so now I don't care about the Intercontinental title match. And then WWE like, that's because wins and losses don't matter. Yet the storyline for Happy Corbin is that he hasn't been beaten. So wins and losses do matter if they do matter. Poor old Ricochet here. I felt so sorry for him. Also, just very quickly, on SmackDown, when weird production issues were happening when it was Angel and or Umberto that were facing Ricochet, and it came in and whatever. Then Ricochet faced the other one, and the commentator was like, is this a championship contenders match? And they were like, I assume so. I mean, he's facing the Intercontinental Champion, so I guess it's a championship contenders match. So Austin Theory faced the Intercontinental Champion, which, by their own rules, would be a championship contenders match. So now Austin Theory should get an IC title shot, right?
He's also pinned the US champion as well, I believe. So...
can't wait for them to follow up on that.
Yeah, I mean, they won't. Actually, I'll mention this now. When they were running down the card later on, and it got to the Pat McAfee Austin Theory one, they desperately want to say Pat McAfee's making his in-ring debut, but they can't because he had matches in NXT. So they're like, Pat McAfee, we're making his WrestleMania in-ring debut.
I love it.
It's the most in brackets off camera WrestleMania.
You know, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if they just said Pat McAfee in-ring debut.
The thing is, well, honestly, like.
They just lie.
Just lie. Yeah. May as well. Then Bianca Belair came out for a promo. I loved and I hated this segment. I loved how it ended. And I thought that Becky is so goddamn good. She is making this feud. She's making this feud so awesome. That's not a slight against Bianca Belair because she is just doing what she is told.
Yes.
But 2 weeks ago, they did a brutal beatdown angle where Becky Lynch put a chair around Bianca Belair's throat and she rammed it into the ring post. And the commentators, even on this show, were like, man, Bianca Belair's career could have ended there. And they were saying it was like, Becky tried to end Bianca Belair's career. So what did Bianca Belair come out to do there to sell this beatdown? Her normal entrance. She was just dancing. She was smiling. She was happy. And then she grabs the mic and she gently grabs her throat, goes, hello, Becky, and then just cut a normal promo. Why bother doing the big beatdown angle if you don't sell it? What's the point?
To Pritchard this one.
To play devil's avocado.
Which was on the show last week. That's selling it.
Well, then it's not a career-threatening injury.
Nah. But she sold it. Was off the show for a week. Got to recuperate from that injury, and she recovered. Wow! Miraculous recovery. Crazy. Yeah,
that actually is a pretty good Pritcharding right there.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It just really irks me because it raises that question of like, why do I invest in any of this? And it's not Bianca's fault. It would be because WWE went through a period of time where they were telling people not to sell injuries. Like if you got a beat down or if you got like a really tough night the night before, because the crowd have paid to see you do an entrance, you've got to do your entrance normally. And it created this horrible atmosphere watching WWE products where like, well, no one's selling anything, so none of it ever means anything. And it was it's incredibly frustrating. Yeah, because the angle was so good 2 weeks ago, and the follow up to it should have been really, really great. But Bianca Belair's just there, smiling, happy as anything. Doesn't faze her in the slightest. So why should I care? Why should I be bothered? Why should I want to see her get revenge?
I don't know. I just want to see her get the title back, I'll be honest.
I don't know if she's going to now, though.
I don't know either.
Because the segment was Becky tried to sneak attack her, and she laid her out, and then she grabbed some scissors. She's going to cut the braid off of Bianca Belair. What a wicked segment like that would have been. Like, what a really big angle it could have been. But Bianca Belair recovered, and she hit 2 KODs. And then she started to cut Becky's hair. She's cut massive clumps off it. But, I mean, she cut off clumps of her hair. The problem is Becky's got so much hair that when she stood up, her hair looked exactly the same as it was.
Mostly fine.
But I was wondering, like, oh man, is she going to debut at Mania with a new look? Like, is she going to like shave like her hair down or something and come in down with sort of like a different, almost like a crew cut look?
I would have loved if Bianca had cut off a lot of Becky's hair, like close, like a short shave kind of length of her hair, but she kind of just took off like, you know, an inch off the end. She just gave her a little trim. Yeah, it was a haircut.
It's actually quite easy to fix.
Yeah, totally. And you know, they have stylists and that. I'm sure Becky will be fine by Mania. She's got a week, so I didn't really. It didn't feel like an even trade of Becky trying to cut off Bianca's braid. That's like her whole like identity. That's her whole thing. Her whole character's built around this braid. She uses it as a weapon several times. That's like, it's Bianca's thing. It's her thing that makes her stand out. Cutting off, you know, the ends of Becky's hair a couple times, it just didn't feel like it was, you know, suitable comeuppance, is what I'd say.
It's also building to a hair versus hair match that isn't happening.
Which is not happening.
But it makes me think that we are going to get that match at WrestleMania Backlash. So
Possible.
Becky retains at Mania,
Mm-hmm.
and you build to the hair versus hair match,
Yeah.
and that's when Bianca gets the win.
Yeah, could totally see that.
Particularly because it's not main eventing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's every chance that could happen. We could talk about that a bit more tomorrow on the prediction show. But I thought Becky sold this great.
This was still a very good angle.
Yeah, it was. And there's Becky, man. Like she's the glue that keeps so many of these feuds together.
Yeah.
Because WWE do the best they can to fumble it badly.
Mm-hmm.
And Becky's there like picking up the pieces and making things make sense. She's so great at that.
Yeah.
Some country singers are doing America the Beautiful.
Cool.
Becky called Bianca a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And then Drew McIntyre took on Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss. And they were talking about... Michael Cole said, like, hey, you guys won't believe this, but Happy Corbin has been undefeated since he got lucky in Vegas.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, that's great. So, like,
Yeah,
Drew will beat him.
been building that up for a while,
Yeah,
which is good.
Drew's going to beat him at WrestleMania. That's really good. And I was like, well, maybe he's just going to have a match with Madcap Moss here. And I'm like, well, Happy Corbin's the match. I'm like, I guess Happy Corbin's going to win then because the whole gimmick here is that he's undefeated.
Yep.
And then Drew wins. And then Baron Corbin stands tall. And Jimmy, you mentioned this earlier. Jimmy Smith says, and a direct quote, and that is how you stay undefeated. He just lost, mate. We all just watched him lose. And this is Cedric Alexander. Waka waka. We won in the end, I guess.
This was infuriating that they can just say, well, say stay undefeated.
That's
And they're still going to mention it on WrestleMania.
Of course he's
undefeated.
hasn't been defeated. And they had him lose here. Yeah, he didn't get pinned. But if I go to cagematch.net, a wonderful website.
Yes.
If I go to Baron Corbin's Wikipedia page, it will say here Drew McIntyre beat him by Drew McIntyre beat him. He lost here.
Yeah.
And then there comes out like, well, that's how you stay undefeated.
And I know some people are going to say, what would you have Corbin and Moss beat McIntyre before Mania? Don't book the match!
Yeah, or actually, yeah. It's 2-on-1 handicap match. The heels have got the advantage. They could cheat to win and pin Drew McIntyre. I wouldn't love it.
I would hate that personally. To have Drew lose, he's been protected for ages.
Yeah, I know, but you can protect him in that loss though.
I still think a loss is the wrong call. You could have had McIntyre versus Moss singles match. Why would you book a 2-on-1 handicap match to build to a singles match featuring two of the people in the match? Doesn't make any sense.
I thought, yeah, I mean, the better option here is McIntyre versus Moss. Also, why is this on Raw? This is a SmackDown match.
No. WrestleMania Raw, Luke.
Because then Edge and AJ Styles, which is a Raw feud, like this is their build.
Yeah.
It's just Edge cut a promo, then AJ cut a promo, and that was it.
Yep.
That was all of it.
That was weird, wasn't it?
It was weird.
Yeah.
An underwhelming lack of hype for one of the most anticipated matches. And I think part of that for me comes from turning Edge heel.
Yeah.
I don't think they should have turned him heel.
No.
I think that turning him heel necessitated then a storyline. Whereas, like, you could have just done two generational superstars.
Because then you don't need a huge build.
You don't.
You can sell it off the back of it's Edge versus AJ Styles. In two babyfaces going to go out and put on an amazing match. That's enough to sell it. Whereas you can't do that with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar because you've seen them wrestle a bunch of times. That's their problem. They've swapped it and they've done it's Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar with no story. We're just going to sell it off the back of it's Reigns versus Lesnar. Buy tickets, please. Whereas this one, they've gone, it's Edge versus AJ Styles. Well, I guess that won't sell, so we'll turn Edge heel and we'll make a story out of it.
Give him this whole new entrance and everything. It was a lack of build, which I was surprised by.
Yeah.
And then our main event was the Usos versus RKBro in not the one night of the year when Raw and SmackDown starts to go head-to-head in direct competition. Boogs and Nakamura came out for commentary, and then they didn't do commentary, and the commentators were like, well, I guess they're not doing commentary then.
I don't understand these production issues. What's happening backstage in WWE where they're like, well, they're going to join us on commentary. I was like, 6 commentators? Are you insane?
What is this, Rampage?
Yeah. And then they go to an ad break, cut back, and they're like, well, they're not joining us for commentary, I guess.
There you go. Well, they're not joining us for commentary. They're just going to be sat at ringside.
I also, again, another thing that really annoyed me about Corey Graves on this show, the Usos get better and better every time they step in the ring. They literally went from main event Jey Uso to being beaten by Rick Boogs in a matter of seconds without Jey Uso getting in a single move over the course of like a year. That's not getting better and better every time they step in the ring. That is an outright lie, looking at their win-loss records.
Yeah, they're the champs.
Wins and losses don't matter.
And then this match ended in DQ when the babyface team of the Street Profits ran in and attacked Randy Orton and Matt Riddle for unprompted, no reason whatsoever. And then got laid out like absolute chumps.
Sure
They chumpatized them something fierce in this segment. This is not a good build for their match at Mania this weekend. I don't know what the end goal of this was supposed to be, other than we send the crowd home happy with Randy Orton hitting RKO.
I think, now this is pure speculation on my part, I think the original plan was Alpha Academy come out, cause the DQ, and then Randy Orton and Riddle lay them out.
Yep.
Street Profits come out, Randy Orton and Riddle lay them out. So instead what they did, Street Profits cause the DQ, Randy Orton and Riddle lay them out, and then Randy Orton and Riddle lay them out again, because that's when the Street Profits were supposed to get laid out. So they just replaced all the Alpha Academy stuff with Street Profits, so the Street Profits just got beaten up twice, which was weird.
I know there's some people in the chat as well saying, like, didn't the Street Profits turn heel? But
I mean,
I don't think they did turn heel.
They didn't turn heel. They're definitely tweeners.
Yeah, they cut a slightly heelish promo. Like, I didn't even say they cut a heel promo. They cut an in-character promo.
They cut an in-character promo. They've been more aggressive, a bit more violent as of late, which is a nice like edge to their character.
I will say I didn't watch Raw last week, so this might be something I missed.
They've been a bit more violent. That's all. A bit more aggressive, which I like to see. And I said that I like on paper, I really like the dynamic they've got of the out-and-out baby faces of RKBro, the out-and-out heels of Alpha Academy, and somewhere in the middle you got Street Profits.
Nice,
and I'm like, that's a really nice dynamic for the triple threat match. That's great. But for whatever reason, an Alpha Academy match was advertised for this show, and it didn't happen. They were pulled from the show, and they were nowhere to be seen on this show. I hope everything's okay with them, for starters, and I think that them not being on the show has harmed this segment, because I think they were supposed to appear here.
Yeah.
And they've just chucked in the Street Profits instead, and it doesn't quite work with the dynamics they've got.
That's also on me as well for not seeing last week's show and not seeing that they might have done some more heelish stuff. To me, they're still the baby faces, but like I like the idea of them being this more tweener act. I think it makes a really nice, tidy aspect to the triple threat.
I would really dig a Street Profits heel turn, I'll be honest. I think they'd be great.
Could freshen them up as well. They could do with freshening up.
For sure.
But that was Raw. I think it was a very good show.
No.
It was
a go-home show for Mania.
Yeah, but every segment was designed to hype WrestleMania. So I give them credit for that. I just don't think a lot of it worked. And a lot of it outright was bad. There was nothing terrible on this show, though. Like, I gave it 2 out of 5 because I think it's a standard episode of Raw. Like, it should be lower because it's the go-home edition of WrestleMania. But I think what this show told you is that SmackDown is the true A show, and SmackDown is the actual go-home show for WrestleMania.
It's WrestleMania SmackDown featuring the Andre the Giant Battle Royal and like an Intercontinental title triple threat on SmackDown. So Raw is it's the pre-show to SmackDown's main card.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. Bit of a shame in the end, considering they had so much going for it. No, I think they dropped the ball ever so slightly. The poll went up late for this. Apologies for that. But we do have some feedback, which is 44% saying it was a 2 out of 5 show, 29% saying it was 3 out of 5. I will say that I reckon had that poll gone up at the time it would have done normally, that would have got a 3 out of 5.
You reckon?
I think it would have done. I think there would have been more votes for 3 out of 5 than there were 2 out of 5. Bear in mind, that came out after my review had gone out. Not saying that my review influenced people, but I'm saying that the more media reaction to the show would have been a 3 out of 5.
Possibly.
I think it would outweigh 2 out of 5.
Who knows? In an alternate timeline, we'd know.
Right, well, let's get into the rest of your wonderful duper ultra chats once I've clicked the link. That's all right, I've got it.
Okay.
Have I got it? I have got it. 10 Ruzza saying Luke is right in front of you. WrestleMania and SmackDownia.
SmackDownia?
Yeah, I mean, it's about the effort I'd have put in.
Yeah, it's fair.
I don't know if it's still more thought than they would give.
Yeah.
As well as Supercard of Honor, Impact and New Japan will be doing incredible things this weekend as well. The GCW Collective will be insane as well. Man, there is so much awesome stuff happening at GCW Collective this weekend. Mission Pro's show that they're doing, Bangers Only, has got a wickedly cool card. Also, because I was watching the promo packages over the weekend, the Hitmakers, which is the former Hit Row in WWE, taking on Shane Taylor Promotions.
STP. Love it.
Oh, man. That is going to be one of those matches I'm going to track down afterwards, because I'm probably not going to be able to see it live.
Yeah.
But I'll be tracking it down on Fight afterwards, because that is a match I want to see.
Yeah, for sure.
Nate S. If they continue with the Emelina gimmick, Veer will debut, just walk out on stage, wave, and then walk back, and they'll do that for another 6 weeks. Or he interrupts Cody's promo.
Yes! Gimme that!
Oh!
No. You know what WWE do? Veer will interrupt Cody's promo. Cody will just kill him and we'll never see him again. Crossroads, see you later, Veer.
Joseph Ray, hey guys, took my little cousin to the show last night and had a great time. There was a pretty good crowd throughout the night, except for the what chants early on.
Early on?
That it was a very good crowd, really. It was nice seeing a live show, but I did feel like I did not see anything to excite me for Mania.
That sounds about right.
Jack Nichols, my boy! Raw happened. Sorry you had to watch it. But you know it's bad when your notable event on your go-home show is about Lashley and Omos. TKM send their love and hope you enjoy Mania Week. 2 out of 10 excitement level, 10 out of 10 for your coverage.
Yeah.
Yes. Riot DR said, I need to get this out of my system. Damian Priest coming from NXT was effortlessly cool with a good theme song and a great look. But because his name contains Damian and Priest, Creative had to give him a Hulk mad gimmick. And then we proceed to turn him heel, and now he's just angry all the time. He's not in on the WrestleMania Go Home Raw, and neither is his rival, Finn. Feel that any investment in the character of Damian Priest was wasted. Thank you for your content. Wish you nothing but love and prosperity to you. Jam that jam. Well said.
And that is why I don't get invested.
That is very well said, right, DR, and I completely agree with you on there. Like, I think it's mad that I thought Demon versus Damian is a home run.
Yeah.
Like, gimmick,
Easy wins.
an easy win for WrestleMania. Or this WrestleMania Go Home show.
It's WrestleMania backlash worthy right there.
Yeah, but then you've got to stretch that out for another 4 weeks.
Sure
Well, I guess you just don't put them on TV for 3 of them.
Yeah.
Zahir E.A. Adams. Do apologise.
E. Adams.
Thank you. WWE is starting to make WrestleMania a B-show pay-per-view, with most of the matches feeling like it should be in matches on Raw or like Money in the Bank. It's sad to see it happen, such an amazing thing. Also, I thought Adam won the Jamble.
He did.
He did. That's why he's on the Night 2 reactions.
Indeed, he won the second Jamble. So the first Jamble was won by Andy, who will be challenging for this championship. The real one, not the fake one that Luke is holding.
I've got the real one.
The real one will be defended in the Jambles, because the Jambles allow you to challenge for the real title. That's the point. So Andy won the first one, who'll be challenging on night 1, and whoever wins out of me and Andy will then be facing Adam on night 2.
That is correct, for the fake belt.
The real one.
I disagree that I think Mania's been like a B-show pay-per-view.
It's not a B-show.
It's Johnny Knoxville, it's Pat McAfee, it's Logan Paul, it's Ronda Rousey, it's Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns. Like, they have got big matches with big-time celebrity names in some cases, and Logan Paul. But it's also, but it's not what I want to see from WrestleMania.
No, and I think what they've done this year is kind of like what I was mentioning earlier. I think what they've done is they've stacked the card with these kind of stars and what they think are the biggest matches, and then gone, we're done. We've promoted WrestleMania. We've got the stars. We now don't actually need to build the card when you still do.
Jack Nichols said, what's the name of that film where the two best friends book a wedding on the same day? Never thought I'd say this, but I think WWE can do it better. I think, is that Bride Wars?
I don't know.
Bride Wars is a romantic, I can't even remember who's in it now. So I feel like it's Rachel McAdams, but I don't want to go on record and say that in case I'm wrong. But I think it was
Matthew McConaughey.
I don't even think Matthew Mahogany's in it. But I remember Mark Kermode in his review said, if there are 10 films released this year that are worse than Bride Wars, I will quit reviewing films forever. Bailey Donovan, am I seeing things? Or was Tempest on Raw last night? Oh no, wait, that was Logan Paul in a lucha mask.
That checks out.
Tenreza, love how Cody's comeback story doesn't even make sense. An omen for what's to come. Loved Becky tapping into her victorious side. Brock is the best. Hoping SmackDown is a better go-home show. What non-WWE product are you looking forward to this weekend? I mentioned earlier, I think it's that the Hitmakers versus STP. Super duper excited for that.
In terms of just shows, Supercard of Honor.
Also, I do think that SmackDown will be a better go-home show.
I think it's... I don't know. Personally, I don't know.
Liam Leonard, hi guys. I didn't really enjoy Monday Night SmackDown until Omos took a bump, which made it 5 out of 5. Back watching it live was painful, and there was only 2 matches in an hour and 20 minutes of Raw. See you Wednesday. Jam that jam. All hail the Tribal Pete.
Damn right.
Liam, I keep telling you, man, stop watching it live. Legit Underboss.
This is weird. Sorry, I've just seen this one down here. There's something different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll do that, yeah.
Weird.
Legit underboss. People mysteriously pulled from the show, random run-ins. It's like a real GM mode. Also, watch your potty mouth, Pete.
I didn't say anything. Luke started it.
And lastly, from Committed Productions, I love you and your content, but I paid $6 to ask Luke to please shave his neck. Keep up the great killer content, fellas.
I feel like if anyone needs to shave their neck, it's definitely me.
It's because I can grow hair on my neck. Or around the back of my neck, for that matter.
Yeah, I can.
You certainly can.
It's getting a bit long.
Yeah, hairy boy. And no, Mod Mother, there weren't any Patreon shoutouts. We did our due diligence.
Yeah, there are. I just looked. I forgot about them. There definitely are Patreon shoutouts. Yeah.
We're at the end of the month, Pete.
No, there's definitely still Patreon shoutouts. Yeah.
I don't believe you.
Well, there definitely are.
Oh, you're right, there are.
Yep. Definitely are. It's a bumper edition because
WrestleTalk's personal problem solver, Jamie Donovan.
Thanks to all our pledge hammers, $25 and above, you can get your own shout out and loads of extra bonus content. Patreon.com/WrestleTalk. $25 above, you get your own custom wrestling nickname and it gets read on a show much like this one. Thank you to what Luke said, and also Gold Raven Freak on a Leash.
He's got 2 first names, Matt Howard.
The man with the scoops, Sean.
General Jimmy G.
Geordie bus driver, Harry.
Love that guy. What's love got to do with it? Matthew Turner.
Tara London, Nigel Morris.
Daylight Robbery, Rob James.
Spider-Man's greatest villain, Dr. Dark 7.
Ooh, Kingslayer.
Colin McLeaner than Finn Balor.
Daniel P.O.T.U.S. Lee.
Tony Jabroni.
Great. Murderous James Muttow.
And finally, for this Hall of Fame class of the 29th of March 2022, the King with a Crown, Ian Brown.
That's also very good. Thank you all so much. We love each and every single one of you and you watching at home.
Just very quickly as well. Patrons had a mad week this last week.
They just?
All the shows have gone up last week. WrestleTalk Extra, you and Ollie talking about TNA Victory Road 2011.
Ooh, that was not a fun time. Week. That was not a fun time.
No, but interesting given the current context of AEW.
Yep.
Interesting stuff. There was also WrestleTalk After Dark went up last week as well, which is great. You can find out what secret project Luke and Ollie were busy with that they spoke about that they weren't going to talk about. You can find out what it is because we spoke about it on After Dark, and keep it secret to the pledge hammers, you know?
And the Patreon mailbag show with me and special guest Dan Layton, and we had a very, very fun time with that.
Patreon.com/WrestleTalk, and it's Wrestle League tomorrow, which is the end of the current season and the start of the next one with this predictions for WrestleMania. So join in now. Patreon.com/WrestleTalk. The forms for Wrestle League will be up tomorrow.
And Zachary T. Robinson here said, Luke's Vince McMahon impression sounds more and more like the Churchill dog with every passing day. I don't know what you mean about that.
Oh, yes.
Seth Rollins, I can't have a 2-night stupendous WrestleMania round 2 on the card. Of course you can have a match. It's going to be against my son, Shane McMahon.
Shane McMahon.
Thank you, everyone, for watching this edition of the WrestleTalk podcast. Please do click the subscribe button if you've made it this far. Click that little thumbs up as well. We massively appreciate it. And we will see you tomorrow for the WrestleMania predictions. It'll be myself. It'll be Pete. It'll be Andy. It'll be Adam. It'll be Sullivan. Bo Brown, maybe. And it's NXT 2.0, Podcast 2.0, as Sat Iniangi and SP3 take over and become the new hosts of the NXT podcast at a new special start time as well. They have been wonderful over the last few weeks doing the handover with Pete and Tempest. We're so thrilled to have them on board doing the NXT review. So tune into that and give them and show them some love. And until then, I have been Luke Owen, DAD, the real Jam That Champion. That's been Chopper Pete Quinnell, who's a dumb face. And that was wrestling. Jam That Jam!